New Zealand has spent about $1 billion in 2023 just on card
fees.
When people are living this cost of living crisis, every little bit helps, right?
I've seen the pain out there that people are going through at the moment. People are struggling.
Every cent that we can help keep in family pockets, I feel like that's a good thing. And so we're trying to do as much as we can in that space.
As the co-founder of Blinkpay, Adrian Smith is leading the charge in open banking by making payments faster, smarter, and fairer for everyone. We dive deep into the journey of building Blinkpay, the acquisition of BNZ Bank, how to build a fintech company, and open banking being the future of money.
I met Daniel Karihana, and he said, well, my dream is to build a Māori bank. Why? He's like, candidly, bro, Māori can't access capital. I'm like, what do you mean? One of the challenges we have is we can't access capital, and therefore we can't create wealth, and we can't bridge the inequality gap. As an example, if you're Māori and live on Māori-owned land, which this was true back in 2021, and you cannot get a mortgage, I'm like, that doesn't sound right. He's like, bro, you've been gone. Look it up.
This episode of the Fresh Money Podcast is proudly sponsored by Tangata Tamotu Trust, who have been serving the Pasifika community in Ōtautahi for over 25 years. From health checks to mental wellbeing, youth programs to family support, they know what our Pacific community need, and they deliver it with heart. If you're in Christchurch and need support or want to connect with a team that truly gets it, head to tat.org.nz or call 0800 Pasifika or 0800 727 434. Just a quick note, this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. If you need financial advice, please make sure you contact a financial advisor to get professional advice. Adrian, welcome to the Fresh Money Podcast.
Willie, welcome.
That's how I start.
Is that how you start?
Normally with a haka, but today I didn't want to.
I would have loved a haka. On my personal podcast for my fantasy football league, I always start with Kia ora koutou and welcome in to the Fantasy Football Podcast.
A lot of the time I say te lau falava, but I was,
Okay.
Adrian, I started with it.
My mates mock me for my podcast voice, like, oh, how you doing?
It's good. Make sure you pull it out today.
All right, then, okay.
But man, an honour to have you on the show today. But yeah, tell me, you're the CEO, co-founder of Blinkpay.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is Blinkpay?
Blinkpay. At its heart, we're a kaupapa Māori fintech. So we do financial technology services. So oftentimes you'll have a bank who sort of thinks they do a little bit of technology. They really are a really big financial technology company.
Gotcha.
Whereas we're of the technology generation doing finance stuff. So we typically look for any chinks in the armor, any gaps in the chain. And if we think to ourselves, that appears to be a problem, there's an underserved group or need there.
Nice.
Can we build an elegant solution using modern technology? So that's what we're about. We're about building financial technology to help the financial services ecosystem. Right. Ultimately, we see ourselves like plumbing that sort of sits underneath the ground.
Gotcha.
We just connect between the big banks and the various large organizations and the government bodies that want to connect with the big banks via our infrastructure. So we see ourselves as plumbing or connective tissue.
Awesome. So man, take me to the start. Where did this kind of interest or like tech all start for you? And whereabouts are you from?
Originally born and raised in Hamilton, but I whakapapa to Kaikohe on my mother's side and Kotirano, Scotland on my father's side.
Oh, wow. That's as far as my
Scottish accent.
Okay. I actually spent a year in Scotland, and so now I class myself as Scottish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Samoan Scottish. Sa Scottish.
Yeah. Sa Scottish. Scot on. So where did it begin for me? I discovered I had a talent for code when I was 11. When I was intermediate, and I'm going to age myself now, when I was intermediate, if you behaved really nicely and well, you had the option to take home the school's Amstrad 128K. Oh, feel the power. 128 kilobytes. And there's a game all the Māori boys played called Ghosts and Ghouls.
Oh, yeah.
You're a little knight throwing around lances at ghosts and goblins and whatnot.
Oh, wow.
And so I would always die in the same place. So I was like, right, I'm going to behave for a week, which when you're a hototu or a naughty boy like me, that's very hard, but I applied myself.
Yeah.
Good, and then I got it home, and I started playing with it. I kept on dying in the same place, and I got really, really hoha, really, really frustrated and annoyed. And so I'm like, well, why don't I just access like the root directory? So I put in the C drive root directory and I went, run the code. And then I started just mucking around with it until it then showed me all the underlying code of the game. And then I realized as I was looking at the code, I went, this actually kind of makes sense.
True.
Because code's based on maths. And so if you understand numeracy and logic, code is really easy. And I went, 03. Oh, that must be the lives. I wonder if I can edit. So I changed 03 to 99, the biggest number I could put in there. I then saved it, run the game, and suddenly had 99 lives. And so I spent the weekend learning how to clock the game, because back in the day, if you could clock the game.
Yes, you're the man.
That's it.
Clocked it a few times.
And so I got back to school, and I then showed all the Māori boys how to
get 99 lives.
Yeah, I showed them all how to get 99 lives so they could then hack the game as well. And suddenly you had this little cohort of Māoris in Hamilton, New Zealand, all mucking around with code.
Crack up.
It was a good time.
And then did you do, so start off with that kind of interest.
Yeah.
Did you do any training or they wouldn't have had that?
No, we definitely had computer science. Okay. So part of my business degree from Waikato, there was a module on computing. But to be candid, in my first year university, I wasn't really paying attention, honestly.
I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah.
I have a similar experience.
My undergrad degree, my marks were a little bit ropey because I deluded myself that I was going to be an All Black one day. Now, in my mind, I had the talent. On the field, not so much. But
in my mind, I had the sidestep,
I had all the moves.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then I got to the end of my bachelor's degree, but in the third year, 95, the internet came to the Waikato University Computer Labs.
Oh, no way.
And I remember thinking to myself, if we can access the full sum of all human knowledge via computers, which are probably going to be everywhere, knowledge is no longer power. Actually, it's the ability to access that knowledge in a meaningful way. And so I ended up going back to do a master's degree in it, and I wrote my thesis around the idea of, with the sum of all human knowledge at your fingertips because of the ubiquitous internet, knowledge is no longer power. It's your ability to intelligently interrogate the full sum of human knowledge. That'll be the game changer. And I hypothesize that one day there'll be an intelligent interrogation agent, these days called search.
Yeah.
And then I also postulated that if you had the ability to meaningfully aggregate information to help people make informed choices and slim them down, so not overwhelm a choice like aggregated websites, that would be another key battleground of the future. Didn't build any of it. I just wrote a thesis on it, then I went to London.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
And then, so did you work in tech in London and the UK?
Oh, so when I went to London the first time, I was just a bit of a tattoo.
Okay. Yep.
I got back to New Zealand and then I said, right, I really, really want to pursue digital. So every role I looked for some kind of digital component.
Oh, I see.
So my first role was with a law firm. They wanted to build a digital database. They wanted to build digital newsletters. I went, I'll do that. That sounds good. And then after I went to the University of Auckland, they wanted to digitize their physical brochureware into websites, and as well as courses that people could sign up to and pay for online. And I just signed up for everything I could find. But I discovered at the University of Auckland, I was working with this developer, and I said to him, oh, can we put bookmarks and anchors so we can jump to various parts of the screen? He's like, we can't do that. I went, yeah, we can. He's like, no, we can't. I'm like, but I used to do it on the PDFs that I used to digitize. He's like, no, that's not right. And I went away, I'm like, is he lying to me? Is he confused?
Yeah. Or am I wrong now?
Am I just wrong?
Yeah.
And I realized I couldn't answer those questions technically. So I rolled myself on a night course to do front-end web development.
No.
Yeah. So I learned HTML because I was like, if I don't understand the language of the developer, I don't know if I'm being lied to or not.
Yeah.
So then I went and learned it in night class. And
How long was that course?
That was I can't remember now. I think it was like a week long. But I think the key lesson or the learning point from that was, if you understand how a language of code works, you understand how code works because it's built in a binary language of yes, no, right, wrong.
Wow.
And if you understand the logic that drives that, then you can understand any system.
Because it seems like, to me, as a non-technical, non-tech person, it seems like this sophisticated, you have to be super clever to understand it, to even attempt to head in that direction. I don't, that's just I could be wrong. Yeah.
There is obviously a degree of intelligence involved because I don't want to offend all the brothers and sisters doing coding because they're amazing. We heart you. You know who you are. But what it is, though, is if you are naturally numerate, if you think in numbers or if you think very logically, if you're driven by logical persuasion, then coding is quite easy to pick up because it's all built on semantic language and the logic of how things fit together. If this, then do that. If that's not true, then do this. If you find that, return response. It's that's all an algorithm is.
Okay.
It's basically just running through a routine or a series of questions trying to get to an answer.
So it's not as scary as some might think.
It's like anything. If you're learning any language, right? Once you understand the core components of the language, then if you can put them together in a meaningful way, so you're not just talking jibber jabber, then you're okay.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice. So where did that lead you in terms of career and roles? In the UK when you were there.
So I went back to the UK in 2006 because I'd spent 2005 trying to secure a job in Silicon Valley because I was that's my people.
Yes.
Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Google.
It was all happening there.
That's where the nerds are.
It is.
I want to be with the nerds. I'm a nerd. I should be with the nerds. But I couldn't get in green card. It was very difficult to secure if you don't have American experience. And then one of my good friends said, I'm going to London. And then two others said, we're going to join you. So I said, okay, let's go to London. And then when I got to London and realized there was hundreds of digital opportunities, I stripped out all the non-digital things out of my CV. I amplified anything that looked digital, and off I went. And so I was very, very fortunate in that I secured a job with Lloyd's Banking Group.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And they were standing up a customer experience team. So their purpose was to design the experience when a customer hit the glass, like whether it be on the mobile, it wasn't the mobile app back then, on their website.
Yep.
How do we then help them go through a digital journey in order to arrive at an informed decision before they purchased or took out a financial product online? Because the way the law worked in the UK was anything done digitally was not considered to be financial advice. So you had to give people all of the optionality to make a choice and do the path or opt out. But you can't look like you're telling them what to do financially.
Oh, I see.
So we're very, very preoccupied with customer journeys. Okay. So I did a lot of work there and got surrounded by some incredible talents who came from different industries. And it was just wonderful. It was such a good time. They assembled this roster of people from different industries, backgrounds who were trying to do digital customer experience. And we had some wonderful arguments about what to do. And eventually we came across experimentation in the digital space, and we used that to settle a lot of our design arguments. And suddenly went from a place of opinion to a place of, well, actually, there's some empirical evidence here. Yeah. We've tested this with 10,000 customers, and the result is 72.6% favourable to that. So that's the winner. So shall we just carry on? Wow, and over time, we refined our approach to testing and experimentation in the digital space. So we did that for a good number of years. And then because of that, then got shifted into doing commercial responsibilities for selling things digitally online. And we did a lot of stuff with data back then. It was all around tailored and personalization. And we used to have phrases like, ooh, we know a lot about customers, but how much did we reveal in our messaging? And the phrase that used to pop up, not in Lloyd's at the time, but other places was, ooh, you got to remain on the right side of creepy. Like, Willie, I know you spent $160 on your credit card. Are you sure you want to do that?
Me? Are they watching me? They're stalking me.
Well, there's a lot of analysts. That's what they do, is they analyze your activity. They're analyzing what you do financially. Now,
my behaviors so they can,
in theory, the good version is so they can then help you better manage your financial life.
Yes, of course.
The Black Mirror version is so they can flog you stuff. So make you more valuable
stuff.
And lock you in. Yeah.
So you have more products with that company.
They have more share of wallet. Yeah, so I did a lot of work in that sort of that space around commercial sales and sort of a lot of work with data. And managed to get some pretty cool wins actually in that. And then after at Lloyd's and did some really good work there. So prior to when I took over the commercial portfolio, Lloyd's had three brands, Lloyd's, Halifax and Bank of Scotland. And collectively they did about 1.1 million financial products online in 2009. 2010, I lifted up the lid on all three, took the best from this one, put them on these two, took the best on this one, put them on these two, took up the best on that one, put them on the other two. And we turned it from 1.1 million from those three brands to 2.23 million in 2010. And it went from being about 8 to 9% of front book income to 23% of front book income. Wow. And the shift or the migration of activity away from physical channels to digital channels was so marked that the regulator said, hey, you need to come in and tell us how, because these results are difficult to understand. And we're actually asked to report on our digital results separately to the rest of the bank. Wow. Because, the regulator wanted to understand what was going on.
Such a quick rate of change, right? Because I did my OE in the UK. I went to Scotland.
There we go.
And a year in England. Played a bit of rugby there. And when I left New Zealand, I was like, man, our banking system's pretty cool. You know, we have EFTPOS cards and stuff. And when I went to the UK 2004 and 5, I think. Oh, no, 2005, 2006. and I had to go and get money out of the wall to go and pay, for a beer or whatever it was. And it seemed so far behind, but you're talking about the rate of change in 2009. How did that speed up so far? It was far behind New Zealand. Now it's far beyond, in my opinion, New Zealand's banking system. How did that move so quickly?
So I give credit to a senior executive they brought in at Lloyd's called Ashley Machin. So he came into the Lloyd's team, when was that? 2007. Mm-hmm. And he said, look, I don't know much about digital technology. That's why I've got all you folks. What I do know, though, is if we do not disrupt our bricks and mortar business ourselves, someone else will. And so he gave an unlimited mandate to try and disrupt the core business and digitize it.
Yeah, wow.
And so for those of us who were of a mind and inclination, we just cut loose. And the cool thing was, because it was the very early days of digitization and banking, we would do the simplest things and it was like mind-blowing at the bank. Like one example is we used to have this thing called value-added accounts where you'd get an account and for a fee you'd get all these other things like insurances and whatnot.
Oh, yep.
And over time, that fell out of favor. But at the time, there was this drive from the core bank to say, well, how can we drive more upgrades? And so we looked at our online bank and we saw the account name on the left and the number and a gap of about 400 pixels and then the balance. And so well, the Western Eye reads left to right. What if we just interrupted that with a little link saying upgrade? And basically a £250 million market sprung up overnight with just one simple thing. And then once the bank saw the art of the possible, said, well, what else can we do? And we just tested things, and there were some things that just flew, other things they were kind of middling, but most of the things we did were fairly minor, but they were massive. They shifted the dial massively. They were game-changing for the bank.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. So there is a lot of demand for people in regards to making their money simpler, like access to different products.
That's it.
Obviously, there's a massive demand. Yeah. Insane.
Well, because that's the thing, because like who here, if we had a room full of people say, hands up everyone who feels 100% confident in managing their money today. And you'd see like a smattering of hands, but you wouldn't see a forest of hands. The hell no. And that's the thing, because financial literacy isn't really taught in schools. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of things that have sprung up in that void.
Yep.
This podcast being one of them, amongst other things, that have sprung up to try and help people understand financial literacy, right? Because like you go to school and you go to university and you learn about stuff. But if I had learned about financial literacy as a kid, I may have made many, many different decisions. Yeah. If there was a marriage school, I might have made a few different decisions as well.
There's a few missing schools out there.
There's a few missing schools, but I know there's some opportunities there to create value. But and so because there are all these gaps in the educational system today, and as the world's evolved, we realize some things are more important than other things. And so there's a response to that. So as an example, Brittany Tay from Kids Coin, she's realized that there's a real educational gap for Māori and Pacific kids who fall through the cracks, particularly in years, I forget what it is, 9, 10, 11. And so she's applied for a charter school status to do an online school that has a curriculum primarily focused on Māori Pacifica kids that helps them address any gaps. It helps them meet the academic requirements of the nation whilst taking a very personalised and tailored approach to their learning needs and their situation. And it takes a broader view of whānau and all these other things. That's the sort of stuff that's come bubbling to the fore now.
Yeah, man.
And I think we need more of that.
Yeah, hard out. So in terms of your career, so what brought you back to New Zealand and then into Blinkpay?
Yeah. So I was merrily going about my British banker life. Hi, I'm Ed.
It would have been fun. You're a corporate.
Wore a suit every day. Felt very flash. Although I did wear jandals into the office with my suit one day, and my managing director gave me Adrian, when you come into this office, you put on that uniform. I'm like, but my feet are hot.
Well, didn't they do that weird thing in the UK when it's a hot day, they just wear pants and no top? They don't like shorts.
Yeah, they don't. They do. Mind you, you don't have like these big, beautiful Polynesian calves.
That's a good point.
That's a point. Anyway, and so my father had a bit of a bad turn. So my sister didn't say now's the time to come home, but she said Dad had a turn. So I felt like I had to, because I felt really guilty, because I'd gone and I was chasing my dreams, and she was at home looking after the whānau. Yeah, And so she had the joy of both our parents all by herself. Yay. So I felt like I needed to come home and be there for what time remained. And I'm grateful because I got 2 years with my dad I didn't think I would have got.
Oh,
and it was actually the best 2 years of my life with him.
man.
So that part was a blessing.
Yeah.
I got back. I had taken a role from the UK with a New Zealand company. The main reason being is I couldn't choreograph with my ex-wife when the kids would come home with her.
Okay.
So I thought, right, I just want to get a job and hit the ground running. I don't want to come home and spend 3 to 6 months trying to find a job and missing my kids and being a sad sack.
Yeah.
So I took the first job that offered from New Zealand while I was in London. And then that didn't quite work out. I wasn't a particularly good cultural fit. Maybe it's because I speak too fast. I don't know. And then I met Daniel Karihana. And so he was trying to actually get into the company I was at the time. And he reached out on LinkedIn. He's like, oh, hey, bro, my name's Dan. You may know my cousin Mede from London. And I scoff. I'm like, who doesn't have a cousin called Mede? This Maori. And then he's like, yeah, so, and then he mentioned his cousin's whole name. Like,
yeah, I actually
we started haka together. We worked at the same bank. Okay, yeah, I know Mede. Okay, sorry, bro. Okay, all good. And we decided to just catch up.
Yep.
And he was trying to figure out how to work out the new situation I was in and how he could try and get to the right people. And as we were chatting, he started talking around. He was on the API Council of New Zealand and he dealt with the Payments New Zealand board. And so we started chatting about that. And then I said, well...
So what do they do, just quickly?
Oh, so the Payments New Zealand board is they are tasked with trying to build the construct around frameworks and the rules how to build out financial technology in the country.
Nice.
And that has an ownership structure. So I think 9 of the banks have equity in that. And then the next layer down is the API Council. So it has members, it has some of the member banks there, it has non-executive directors, it has people from industry who then try and represent all the views of industry. And they are the then filter from where everything comes from the API Centre, from their working groups, business working groups, technical working groups. So you have all the industry get together, figure stuff out, then they bubble up a whole bunch of proposals. API Council then does a check and challenge. If it doesn't work, they send it back. If they're comfortable with it, they send it up to the board, and then the board typically approves that stuff. So it's all around what are we doing from an infrastructure network across the country perspective in order to help enable Aotearoa.
Yeah, wicked. Me.
Yeah. So he was on those. We were talking about it, and I started just jibber-jabbering about the stuff I knew in the UK. And I think we're on the third pint, and he's like, what's idempotence? I'm like, bro, it's a mathematical way of just killing duplicate payments. He's like, how do you spell that? I'm like, ID. What do you mean how do you spell that? He's like, no, I'm on the API Council of New Zealand. I've never even heard of idempotence. I'm like, all the APIs you're meant to be building should be idempotent, bro. Otherwise, you're going to be murdered by duplicate payments. Obviously. And he's like, not obvious.
Yeah, of course.
And so I just started then, well, hang on, what's your risk cat? What's your risk cat? And he's like, what? I'm like, what's your resilience category? He's like, I said, if your system falls over, how fast does it spin up again? He's like, I said, because if your risk had 0, that means your system will spin up again in 5 minutes. That's your resilience category.
Yeah.
Category 0 means you're a core system, and if your core system falls over, you'll fail over to a redundant system and then spin it back all up in under 5 minutes.
True.
What's your risk cat rating? He went, I'm
just going to go find it.
So anyway, we got to the end of the conversation. He's like, far out, you know heaps of stuff, bro. I said, I used to be a digital director of a global bank. Know a couple of things. And he's like, I should get you to join my team. I'm like, you can't afford me, bro. It was a throwaway comment. And he said, well, I'm going to tell you my dream. And then he shared with me his dream. He says, my dream is to build a Māori bank. I'm like, why? He's like, because we don't have one. I'm like, that's a circular argument. Anything else? He's like, well, categorical. He's like, candidly, bro, Māori can't access capital. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, one of the challenges we have is we can't access capital, and therefore we can't create wealth, and we can't bridge the inequality gap. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, as an example, if you're Māori and live on Māori-owned land, which this was true back in 2021, since then the BNZ brought out a loan for Māori land. He said, if you're on Māori-owned land, you cannot get a mortgage. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. He's like, bro, you've been gone. Look it up. Okay, I'll look it up when I'm sober. Then he says, another thing, if you are a If you're a Māori, small to medium-sized company, like as an example, if you're a man in van, you are 62% less likely than non-Māori to have a fleet of vans. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. He's like, look it up. I'm like, stop saying that. And he's like, I encourage you to check out the Te Ohanga Māori report from 2018 because it kind of spells it all out, bro. I was like, okay, I'll look into that. And he said, yeah. And I said, but how can we be 62% less likely? Did you just make that number? He's like, no, it's in there. I went, oh. I'll have to fact check you if I remember tomorrow. And then as he started sort of stating the case, I'm like, far out. And then he goes, did you know in 1886, the Kingitanga, they created Te Peke o Māori? I'm like, nope. He's like, I want to recreate Te Peke o Māori. I'm like, how are you going to do that? He says, well, I'll get to the how. And he looks at me sideways. He says, but one of the things that struck me about our people is there was an era that I would call the survive era, and a lot of their leaders are ensconced in Te Papa, all the people you've seen movies about.
Yeah.
He says, and then there's been this revive era, which has been driven by the kura kaupapa and the koanga reo and the te reo and the kapahaka, and it's awesome, and eventually the leaders of that will be ensconced in Te Papa.
Yeah, wow.
I want to be the architect of the thrive era for Māori through financial inclusion, engagement and literacy and enablement.
Man.
I was like,
man,
this guy. You're going to be the architect of a whole people. He's like,
that's
yeah.
insane.
I said, how are you going to do that? He's like, I'm going to find a Māori who's built a bank before. I was like,
think of,
hey.
true.
Yeah. And so by the end of the fourth pint, I was like, yeah, let's build a Māori business. Sounds amazing.
Sheesh,
Yeah.
dang.
So,
and had he already started Blinkpay at that stage? Or
he had started Blinkpay. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. So he'd built a 7-year, 3-phased plan.
Yeah. Okay.
And so the first phase was to build something and embed it into the New Zealand financial services ecosystem. So we did that via the open banking APIs and our core connections to the 4 major banks. We
Nice.
did that, tick. The goal was also to be unapologetically Māori, tick.
Man.
Are you going to ask a question?
Yeah, what does creating the APIs to the banks allow you to do?
Oh, that's a good question. So API, for those who are unaware, is an application programming interface. The name's kind of irrelevant. It's what it does is the important part.
Gotcha.
It allows you, with a bit of code, to connect 2 systems that speak different languages to each other so they can understand each other. It's kind of like an international translator. So if you're speaking to someone else speaking Te Reo, we'd put it in between us and we could understand each other.
I
like
see.
sci-fi, Star Trek. And
Yeah, nice.
so that's what an API does.
Okay.
It translates languages from different systems into a common language.
Me.
Yeah. And so what we do is we connect deep into the core banking stack of the 4 major banks.
Yep.
And we go through their security protocols and all the things you'd expect to go through. And what that allows us to do is it allows us then to enable their customers to be able to then initiate payments from wherever we are into their banking stack in a safe and secure and supported way. And then now that the data capability is online, it'll give their customers the ability to access their data and consent to having it be sent to some kind of data recipient in order to help them find better products and services, which will soon be enabled underneath the customer and product data bill coming into law on the 1st of December. But we'll come back to that. Yes, that's what it's about. It's about, can we unlock the value of what's held in banks in terms of banking data and payments?
Yep.
And can we do that at a national industry level? And so that's what we've been working on.
Nice. So I can get my information super fast and quickly and safely.
Oh, that's exactly it. So what's probably a terrible example is if you wander into any kind of large organization today and you say, can I have my data, please, as it relates to my product usage? Say, like, it might be my energy meter, it might be all the transactions I've put on my credit card. The businessman may not have a view that it's actually their data. Whereas underneath the customer and product data bill, it'll be ratified in law that you own your own data, both your personal identifiable data, like your name, where you live and everything, as well as the products you hold and all the things you do with those products. And so banks are the first designated industry. So all of us doing financial services, we know we're first. We thank Minister Scott Simpson for giving us the first crack at it since we've been on it for a while. But it means that if you wander in off the street, you can then go to say your bank, say, hey, I think I can get a better mortgage deal than you guys. And so I want to consent to having my mortgage data that you've got. I want you to send over here to this, maybe Willie's Fresh Money app or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then because Willie's going to help me get a better deal. And then they have to say, oh, good. And if Willie's Fresh Money app is accredited to the regime, then they have to support that. NBI is actually looking to make people support those connection requests within 5 days, which I cannot wait to see because it's not that fast. But I'm thrilled to hear it. And so if I believe that, Willie's Fresh Money app can get me a better mortgage, give me better rates, give me better deals, and if all I have to do is provide the data from my bank to them and you're connected, boom. Yes, please. Show me all the offers based on what you know about me. Oh, by the way, Adrian, we found these great deals and we think, based on your circumstance, we think this might be the best option for these reasons. And so it's not financial advice. It's basically saying, here's a series of options you pick for yourself. Not saying which is right for you. We're just saying my language is incorrect. Sorry, I'm tired. But it's a case of here are the options that might fit based on your data. And so suddenly you've got all the power of, I've got my own data working for me.
That's nice. I see.
And then if you then expand upon that, once, the next designated industry is energy, well, then you say to your energy supplier, Trustpower, Genesis, whatever, like, hey, I want to take all my data from you guys, I want to put it into Willie's Fresh Money app because he's going to find me the best electricity deal. And they'll be like, oh, we got the best electricity deal. Like, yeah, we'll see about that, bro. And so again, what we see is this massive shift of control back to you.
Yeah.
And you're now starting to get access to the tools and data to enable people to make better decisions.
Yeah, nice.
Because they're saying, right?
Nice.
Being poor is expensive. And that part of the problem about being poor, you don't have access to the resources or the knowledge or the capital.
100%.
This democratization of our data via the customer and product data bill is going to unlock so much capability for everyone.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So is that what this term I've heard, open banking is? You know that the banking part that you talked about?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So open banking as a concept was how can we open up the value of banks? It came out of the Payment Service 2 directive out of Europe, but that's probably the wrong thing. Do you remember those Russian nesting dolls, bro?
Yes.
Yeah. So like open banking is like one of the small dolls.
Oh, yeah.
The bigger nesting doll is open finance, which includes things like your investments, pensions, and all that other stuff.
Yes. Yep.
And then probably the biggest one of all, which you'll hear others talk about, is open data, which is the ability to instantly transfer and get your data from anywhere. That's the big end game. So that's what the customer and product data will unlock. So open banking is like a small nested doll within that.
Okay. Man, awesome. Sweet. So tell me more about Blinkpay.
In what way? What would you like to know?
What would that enable me to do in terms of my banking or financial services? Is that what you were talking about home loans before, or is that something else? Or was it?
Oh, obviously there's limits to what I can share. Financial certificates.
Yes. Fair enough.
But so what we do is we started with a payment gateway.
Okay.
And so our thesis was or is that payments are expensive, and you can feel it. The moment you go up to that point of sale in your local grocery and you pull it out and you see that surcharge, and there'll be those of us who do this, ooh.
Yeah, every time, hey.
Yeah, like, ooh.
I accept it, but I'm not happy about pressing, you accept this thing? I'm not happy about it.
Or those times where you use the tap and pay, and then suddenly it goes from $25 to $25.67, like, hey, what the hell happened there?
Yeah, who's taking my money?
And so our thesis is payments are expensive.
Yep.
People are looking for easy and convenient ways to make payments, but they don't want to pay for the privilege the same way. So we thought that if we were able to introduce a payments technology like open banking, whereby you have supported and safe and stable connections to the banks, and we can then really lower the fees are on that, and thankfully the banks have come to the party.
Nice.
We can then lower the cost of processing payments for consumers, for merchants, for everybody. And so as another byproduct of the customer and product data bill is NBIE came out a few months ago and said, we have a proposal for fee caps on payments of 5 cents and access data 1 cent. We won't come to we'll come back to the access data thing for 1 cent later. And so no one really complained about the 5 cents because it was materially lower than most of the rates in market today.
Sure.
And by doing that, suddenly the cost of sending money and receiving money goes way down. And so from a net positive for New Zealand, it's a net good.
Yeah, mate.
So the more people, and like...
Because do you know how much people spend on payments each year as a nation?
So what I'll do is I'll reference the last ComCom report where they reviewed the card interchange system and how much fees are being charged by everyone as part of the card schemes, and in particular was interchange. And what they found was New Zealand has spent about $1 billion in 2023 just on card fees.
On fees?
Fees.
If you're serious about buying your first home, make sure you check out the First Home Buyers Masterclass. In this masterclass, we take you through the whole home buying journey, from getting pre-approved, finding your property, to settling. This will take out a lot of the confusion and make your home buying journey a lot easier. Make sure you check out the link below for our masterclass. Dang.
And so I feel like that's the wrong answer. And I feel like when people are living in this cost of living crisis, every little bit helps, right?
Yeah.
Every penny matters.
Absolutely.
And if you're getting dinged...
Well, I've seen the pain out there that people are going through at the moment.
Yeah, hard.
You know, people are struggling.
Yeah, exactly. And so every cent that we can help keep in people's pockets and family pockets, I feel like that's a good thing. And so we're trying to do as much as we can in that space. That's why we've spent a lot of time negotiating with the banks, trying to drive pricing down, spent a lot of time with MBIE discussing kind of the implication of all this stuff, as well as with the Comcom. Yeah. And so we've been really, really pleased that MBIE's responded to that tono, that invite,
Nice.
As has Comcom, and the banks have responded as well.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know if you're aware, so a few weeks ago, Kiwi Bank came out and said, when we join the open banking standard in 2026, we're not going to charge New Zealanders ever.
Yes, I did see that.
See that?
I saw that.
Yeah. And just prior to that, a few weeks earlier than that, Westpac says we're going to drop our fees to zero
Awesome.
for the next 12 months just to see how it all plays out. Others are following suit as well.
I feel like was there an announcement today even?
Oh, I don't know.
I feel like ASB has...
have they come out?
I think they might have.
All right.
Okay. I'll have to check that post again. But
I was going to say, because if it's public, then I might be able to confirm or deny it. But if it's not public, then I can't say.
Hey, do you know something I don't know, Adrian? You don't have to answer that. Silence is an... No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, so the industry's really responded to that, and the industry's now come around to the view that, well, actually... This is a national good situation. So one of the things I argued at the keynote speech for Tech Week 25 about a month ago was we need to treat all the APIs we're building, this technical infrastructure, as digital public infrastructure. In the same way the government invested in broadband, the same way the government invested in roads, this is a national infrastructure thing. And if we get it right,
100%,
we could lock so much competitive advantage for New Zealand.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, so up until now, the government's kind of been standing on the sidelines cheering us on. Yeah.
Go for it.
Go do it. Yeah, you do the thing. Otherwise, I'll write a really strongly worded letter. But one of the things I talk about is, look, we don't need cheerleaders on the sideline. You're on the pitch.
Yeah.
Muck in.
Big time.
Yeah, and so we would love it if the government took a bit of an active financial investment in that. Because as an example...
it is like a road, right?
Oh, it is. And one of the as an active example is... The big four banks are there, cool. That's 85 to 90% of banked New Zealanders. But what about the other 14, 15%? And so for me, open banking, including the title open, like we're trying to be open and inclusive. But as it currently stands, in the absence of tier 2 banks, non-bank deposit takers, etc., we are at real risk of actually further entrenching the big banks, and all the small, on the margins banks get left behind because they can't afford it. They don't have the resources. And what's even worse, in my opinion, is a possibility is that these customers of these smaller banks end up switching to a bigger bank because there's better services and products available as a result. And so that's why I'm imploring the government, come on, guys, get behind this. Get some pooter in here. Try and help create a common platform like the NZ Bankers Association did with Confirmation of Pay, which is a feature that came in to try and help combat fraud.
I've seen that.
Yeah. So what can we do to support these folks? How can we incentivize them to get involved? Because this could be a source of national competitive advantage if we choose to lean in.
Yeah, nice. And you being on the forefront, you're seen as one of the leaders in this kind of fintech open banking.
Say that, Wally.
It's true, 100% true. And how has your, I suppose, leadership and your Māori values come through in shaping your leadership kind of decision making, who you are as a boss, who you are in the public space, online? Like, how does that kind of shape your leadership and your decisions?
Yeah, so because we're kaupapa Māori based, we have a set of values we anchor to. And I must admit, there's 4, but the one I'm probably going to spend the most time talking about is manaakitanga. So we have this philosophy that if you genuinely see people, you genuinely hear them, and basically give a you're going to get their best effort. And so we're very, very interested. Like Dan had this view of, hey, if we represent anyone, we need to whakamana them. We need to make sure we uplift them. Yeah. We elevate their mana, we amplify it. We don't take from it. We are not mana suckers. Not as weird, that's a whānau word, but we're not mana suckers. Yeah. We like to amplify. And so when we're out there and we're dealing with others and if we see some things that potentially could be better, we don't come out and say, boo, we don't like you or any of that sort of negative stuff. We sort of say, hey guys, let's try and take a real constructive view. Like, understand the criticism, but could we be constructive and not attack things and say this is chill, but say, well, look, this is where we could improve this and here's how we might. And so we're very, very focused on that constructive approach to how we go about things. We're really keen to whakamana various members of the industry, even the ones we don't agree with. At least we're grateful to hear the opinions on the table. We're grateful to those who are in the trenches trying to figure all this stuff out. Yep. And so that's what we try to do is we try to take a very middling view and we try to whakamana everyone. So I'm not without sympathy. I spent nearly 15 years in the big banks in the UK. I've come home. I'm now in the startup, so one might argue I know how to dance on both sides of the aisle. Cool. I tend to dance in the middle quite a bit. Yep. Surprised I haven't been shot by both sides yet. I'm sure it's coming though. But that's what we try to do we try to find a middle ground between positional arguments, right? You'll hear from the big bang like, we can't do that. And there's a lot of good reasons for that. And then you'll hear from startups, that's really unfair, you should do that. And so what we try to do is if we feel like startups are being unfair in their assessment, we say, actually, having spent time in the big bang, it's really difficult to do X, Y, and Z. Conversely, if the big bang says, oh, these are the reasons, I'm like, we all know that's not true. Come on.
There's a bit of realism, mate. Yeah. So, hey, come on, be realistic.
Yeah, come on. Come on, now be fair.
That's awesome.
But everything we do is through that lens of how can we really empower Aotearoa? How can we be a voice of reason? How can we be the thought leaders to try and shepherd everyone to a really good middle ground? Because often what we find is there tends to be a lot of my view or your view, and there's a lot of positional debate. We're a big fan of, and what can we do to satisfy Willie's needs and ours? Can we maybe work on that together to try and figure out what makes the most sense? And then we do that and we try to sort of come from a place of first principles. So we like to start with, well, can we all agree to, setting aside any differences we've got, can we all agree that if we don't do the thing by the thing's time, it's going to be bad for all of us reputationally. It's going to mess with our money. Yes. And so by trying to bring everyone to the same starting point allows us to then have a really solid conversation, because one of the big challenges you have is when you've got so many different viewpoints is you have asymmetrical information. Do you know what I mean when I talk about that?
No.
So asymmetrical information.
It's got more than 2 syllables, so I'll get you to explain that.
All right. Asymmetrical information is this notion that people argue based on what they know, but not everyone's in command of the same information. And so if we're talking about mortgages, I'll argue what little I know, but you know a lot more than I do. Right?
Mortgages. Yeah. Yes, maybe.
But then what you have is then a lot of really clever people think that their view is the only view. So then they'll be like, actually. Yeah. And then, true. And then you'll have people advocating or arguing for what they know. And so what we try to do is say, look, guys, like collectively, if we harness all of our collective knowledge, there's got to be an answer here. We've got a lot of big brains in the room. Let's harness it. Yeah, but so many people get caught up in the adversarial debate.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so we try and bring everyone together and try and find that common ground. We don't always succeed. But I think the more we consider everyone else's context, the more views we bring to bear, it gives us a better chance to design better solutions for New Zealand.
Man, awesome. I love that viewpoint. Yeah, it's so, like you said, it's kind of mana enhancing, for everyone, both sides.
That's the goal.
Yeah, nice. So tell me about the, acquisition of Blinkpay by the BNZ.
Okay, some things are definitely commercially sensitive. Cool. And so all my comments are my own. Sweet. I'm not speaking on behalf of Bank of New Zealand or their own National Australia Bank or Blinkpay. This is Adrian.
Yeah, Adrian.
This is Adrian. Just freestyling. Freestyling. Okay.
That disclaimer has been put out.
Okay, cool. Good. Cool. it was really, really cool because when BNZ approached us, they said, well, how would you feel about being acquired? I kind of frowned and I was like, well, what do you mean exactly? Like, how much? And like, oh, the whole shooting match. I'm like, the whole shooting match?
Wow.
Why us? Why now? And the answer that came back.
From my perspective, that's awesome, right?
Well, it was a great data point for saying that thing you've done is actually valuable.
Yeah, so good.
Like, because when you do a startup, you're trying to build something and there's this, is this valuable? Would someone buy this? Like, is this, am I being stupid here, or is there something here? And there's an element of doubt that sort of creeps in.
Yeah.
And then when they said, look, we think the future of the country is around this new technology standard.
Wow.
We think that's going to redefine the country for a period of time. And we really, really, really want to be leaders in that space. And we think you'd be a great partner and ally to have. And I'm like, I think this is the right thinking.
I agree.
I agree with everything you're saying. This is amazing. Keep going. Yeah, and so it was really, really
good.
Affirming.
Yeah.
It was really affirming.
Especially when a company, a business like a bank, with that much pull, that much weight, comes and approaches you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
So good.
That was really affirming. And then for me personally, again, speaking for Adrian, one of the conversations I had with Dan before he sort of came to his, before he passed in December 2022 was, he said, I'm bringing you in to protect the future of my company for my wife, my tamariki and my mokopuna. And I was like, bro, that's heavy. That's taumaha as. That's heavy.
Yeah.
He's like, I think you can do it. I'm like, no, that's a lot. But I took up the tunnel, the invite.
Wow.
And so the idea of being acquired meant, hey, I might be able to honour the promise. And when you think around the mechanics of a negotiation or an acquisition, something like that, what a lot of people get caught up is in the value negotiation and how much. But actually what it tapped into for me was an additional lever that would make me take action, which is I get to keep a promise to my mate. And so, myself and the team, we worked our butts off because for me, I was less driven by the acquisition. I was more driven by the opportunity to keep a promise. So that helped me. That's
amazing.
That helped me really drive through on some of the harder days. Brilliantly though, and as I've written in my Acquired blog series, the M&A team from NAB and BNZ, the M&A guys had done this dance many times, so they were very, very sharp, very, very slick, very, very supportive. They there was a whole. I came to understand later on that they'd started working on a post-acquisition transition plan like months before we even got there.
Oh wow!
So what you find is in some cases you get to the end, like those. Have you ever seen Finding Nemo, the goldfish escaping the bags in the wood? Like, now what? I see some founders doing now what? Whereas they had this whole orchestrated plan set up around how they were going to then work with us.
Before they even spoke to you?
They had started working on the plan.
Damn.
Yeah. So we were able to sort of hit the ground running, which is really, really awesome. And I won't go into the particular sensitivities of what was hitting the ground running, but it meant that we didn't have a standing start. Like I'm aware of some founders where they got acquired and then the new owner said, they'd go to the new owner's like, oh, so what's the transition plan? They'd be like, it's all good. Don't worry about it. Like, what is it? And then they would, by that very response, destabilize the company they just purchased.
Everyone, yeah.
Because there was no plan to the best of the team's knowledge. So everyone would be, what's the plan? What's the plan? What's the plan? And so, that part I was really grateful for, a really thoughtful plan.
Yeah, cool.
And then once we'd sort of completed the acquisition, they said, here's our plan. What do you think? Like, this is what we think. But, we don't think we have all the answers. It's just, here's our starting position. What do you and I was like, well, I have thoughts. Let's go through it. And it wasn't a case of we're the big bank, we own you, so this is your plan.
Okay. They didn't come in, we own you now.
No.
We say jump, you say.
No. There was very much collegial of, here's what we've tried to do. We've tried to not hammer you with bank stuff because we realise you're not a bank. So we've got a proposal, but we're interested to hear your feedback.
That's really cool.
And it was a really, really progressive mindset, and it made all the early conversations a lot easier to have because they weren't trying to fit us into, they weren't trying to do the square peg into the round hole. They're like, we've tried to create a square hole, but can you help us out? Like, okay.
True.
Yeah.
And while we can't talk about, money or how much it was acquired for, is there, and much of the plan, but are you obviously going to stay on board for as long as possible, as long as required to achieve some of those goals that have been set?
Yes. So, unless they get rid of me, of course.
We've changed our mind.
We've totally changed our mind, bro. Thanks for all your service. Get a McDonald's voucher on the way out. No, I joke, obviously. But yeah, so what we're doing at the moment, we're going through a hypergrowth phase, and oh my gosh, exciting.
I have seen like some of your posts, like I might apply for a job, but I might not get it. But I see you're on a big kind of employment drive.
We're on a big drive. Like, so year to date, the first 5 months of this year versus the first 5 months of last year, on volume we're up by a multiple of 3.67. On value we're up by 3.77. So, my gosh. And then in terms of we're bringing in new headcount. So we did, prior to the acquisition, we had 3.5 of us. We had 3 full-timers, 1 part-timer.
Wow.
And now we're currently at 8, and we got our 9th. So we've got a full stack developer starting next week, which we're very excited about. Oh. We put a rollout into the ether at Blinkpay for any testers. So if you're in Aotearoa and have the right to work here, go find out.
You have the necessary papers.
Honestly, bro, because every time we put out a tech job, half our applications, hundreds are from overseas.
Okay. And you can't take, obviously.
I know we can. We just don't want to. Okay. Because our aspiration is to invest in New Zealand.
Yeah, man.
So we're only interested in New Zealand-based talent and capability, and we want to elevate that.
Work it.
We want to elevate New Zealand. That's the kaupapa.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so, and then we've got a very senior role, hopefully starting in the next month or so. But yeah, we'll probably get to the end of the year with about 14, 15 staff.
Sheesh.
Yeah, almost quadrupled the team.
Yeah, I know. That's some super growth.
It's cool, bro. And so what does that mean? It's mean you're getting all these really big brainy box people who've got great talent and skills coming in. And the part I love, honestly, for me, this is the nirvana. The amount of new people who started going, oh, what's the story here? Like, I don't know. Like, oh, can I fix that? Yeah, please, go ahead.
Yes,
fix
please.
it.
Yeah.
And then, oh, hey, I just did this other thing because this other thing was broken. Oh, okay, yeah, good. Hey, I found this gap over here. Do you mind if I build something for it? All good. And so we've got these proactive problem solvers who are just coming in and just going, oh, there's a gap there. I'm going to fill it.
Yeah, nice.
And I'm going to do something. And obviously, we make sure that they stay within the guardrails of the things we need to think about from a risk compliance perspective.
Yep.
Because of our ownership situation.
Yes.
But in the main, they just spot a problem, fix it, or spot a gap, do something about it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Awesome. And how has your role changed as the company's changed?
It's really interesting. So I'll come to that question in a minute. So my CTO, because when you're a startup, you flex and you have this heartland of the things you do, and then you flex and do lots of different things. So my CTO, honestly, this guy, amazing. He was doing risk compliance. He was doing finance. He was doing legal work. He was doing the coding, the testing, the delivery, the publishing. And so all the early hires were to take away parts of his role that weren't core. So that's why we hired a couple of full stack developers. Cool. We hired a engineering lead. We're now about to hire a tester. Hopefully we'll hire a risk compliance person. And we'll take away all those non-core parts of his job. And then once I was pretty confident I'd remove quite a bit of stuff off his plate, then I started with me. So my first move was the head of business development. So complex sales is an art form. So I brought in a guy he's an artist. He's been doing it for a long time. And so we're pretty confident in his ability to get us towards our goals this year in terms of that. I started a new head of product this week, and this guy's an absolute savant. His brain's as big as a warehouse. He arrived, and by day 2, he's like, yeah, I got questions about the strategy. I'm like, okay, what are they? He's like, yeah, what about this and what about that? I'm like, those are great questions. What do you suggest? And so when you hire these brilliant, talented people who feel impelled or compelled to contribute and just actively contribute, we've got all these, so many good things going on.
It doesn't scare you?
Nah, because what it means is it's weird, and this is going to sound real weird, but the day that the company runs itself and I'm no longer needed, winning. I might be like Jenkins and take up fishing or something. Love you, Mike. But yeah, and so for me is my emphasis has been around how do we embed our values and culture to our onboarding practices, as well as we scale up our agile approach, how do we then scale agility as we then have to start to build functional areas because of our expanding team. So I've been very, very preoccupied with culture and values.
Cool.
So as an example, when we're doing a phone interview, the phone screener, that's the why interview. So we're trying to understand people's drivers, their why.
Oh, yeah.
And then if they then keep past the why, we then invite them to a technical interview, so the what. Oh. And then if they get past the technical skills and they get past our benchmarking, I've got to stop hitting the muff, sorry, muff. we then have a values conversation. So we share with them our values, and then I interview them on their values, their how.
Gotcha.
So when they come through the front door, they need to have benchmarked against their why, their what, and their how. And so if they pass those 3 benchmarks, then we go, right, we've got someone we feel is internally aligned on their why.
Yep.
They have the technical skills to pay the bills, and they're aligned on their how.
So good.
So then it makes it really, so everyone we bring in, they just get it. And then they just join in and carry on.
Yeah.
And they spot ways to do something useful, even if they haven't been told to.
Awesome.
Dope.
Because they've already met all the...
Yeah, they've already met all the grades. And then so for me, I've started to hive off the complex sales stuff, and I'm starting to hive off the product stuff, although to be honest, the product guy is almost up to speed. He's like on day 5.
Jeez.
Yeah.
He's a pro already.
He's brilliant. I felt like he was underutilized in his previous employment, and so I was happy to liberate him from that and utilize him more appropriately.
Nice.
No, he's a brilliant guy. And then so that means I get to focus on culture and values. I'm going to focus on the work I'm doing with the regulators, with the government, as well as all the bank CEOs to try and build out our national infrastructure and everything that sits around that. So I'll be very focused on those areas.
Yeah, nice.
So I'm not worried. I'm not scared. I'm actually thrilled.
Awesome. And has the culture changed at all being acquired by someone like BNZ?
Has the culture changed? Not so much. There are some, obviously, I'm painting a very positive picture. There has been some bumps.
Yep.
When we deal with the acquisition team, who are very, very aligned on the original business benefits case and the kaupapa, what we're up to. But then the moment we go into the bigger machine, things can slow down. Yeah, as you can imagine, right? If you're in the banking industry, your first priority is to protect the bank license. Yes. And so everything you do is very deliberate because you don't want to risk the license. Yep. And so as a consequence, banks have a lot of controls because you want to make sure that there's no errors that cause you to lose your license. You flip that to a startup where we're creative and innovative. We're trying stuff. We're experimenting all the time. Yes. We just go fast. Yeah. One of the things I wouldn't have thought about.
I didn't think about the license being the key thing.
That's the key thing.
Obviously, it is.
Well, see, you're in a bank, so you wouldn't know this if you haven't been in a bank. But the thing you think about is, I cannot put at risk the bank license. So the moment the regulator says, "Hey, do this," okay, we're going to do this, and it's not a debate. Yeah, it's the moment they say it, it's a fait accompli. It's going to happen. Yeah. And so, because no one wants to lose the license to trade, right? It's too valuable. And so, as a consequence, banks, quite rightly so, have a very measured approach to risk. Yeah. Whereas if you're a startup, you're a little bit more,
creative.
Let's go.
Yeah. A bit more risky.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to make a dent in the
yes.
You're trying to change. You're trying to make change. You're trying to make a difference. And so one of the things I would complain about when I was in a big bank, I'd say, I'd always complain in my big bank that I work in, we'd spend 99% of our time admiring the problem and 1% of the time actually doing anything about it. Whereas when you're in a startup, it's a complete inversion of that. Yeah. And so when you bring a startup and a big bank together, you're now on this polarizing ends of the spectrum. You're trying to figure out how do we find some place in the middle that makes sense to both of us. And so that's kind of where we're at. That's where we're at. Is like there are some things we just want to just tear off, hair on fire, because that's my natural personality. Yeah. And the bank's like, can we just take a breath and talk about it?
Can we just think about this for a minute?
Can we just take a breath? And that's fair enough, right? And there's some things I'll be like, oh, okay. And there are other things I'm like, nah. And so what we're very keen on is part of the relationship, making sure that whatever the controls that are being applied to us, because we do have to be aware of controls, right? We can't risk the bank license. Yep. We just need to make sure that they're proportionate to our age and stage as a company.
Awesome. And so going forward, what is the future and what's the vision for Blinkpay?
So
give me
we'll see the vision. So our vision, actually, no, that's probably not the right way to think about it. So the end game for me is building a Māori bank. Because I want to instill intergenerational pride into my mokopuna, my children, my mokopuna. I want them to be very proud and point at something that hopefully lasts. They said, yeah, our koro did that. That's a part of our whakapapa. So that's what drives me is the intergenerational pride aspect, as well as honouring Dan's original dream. But the vision for us as a company today, right here, right now, is we want to build better technology, better financial products and services through better tech to help everyday New Zealanders be better off.
Yeah, wow.
Better. We're trying to just help New Zealand be better off.
Nice.
And we think like by using new and emerging technologies, if we're smart and build elegant solutions to everyday problems and we can embed them into the ecosystems of what people do today, we feel like we can make a difference. So that's the goal. And so one of the things I joke about in payments is, 90% of the time, payments work all the time.
But 90%, I feel like I've heard that somewhere.
Well, the thing is, there'll be these 10% of cases where it hasn't worked, and when it doesn't work, it goes horribly wrong, right? Yep. Like, have you ever had a payment to someone when you didn't pay your direct debit? And then you get the fees and the charges, and you get the unplanned overdraft, and then suddenly you're getting slammed, and you didn't even know that direct debit was coming out. Like, we're trying to solve stuff like that. We're trying to solve the problem of someone hasn't paid their bill, and now you're calling them, they're not answering, and then you have to go down the path of collections and recoveries and all that horrible stuff that actually costs time and money. Yeah. We're like, can we get ahead of that? Instead of trying to deal with like the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff, can we build a fence at the top of the cliff? Yeah, okay. We're trying to get ahead of those sorts of things. Like someone tries to make a payment, they have insufficient funds. Well, why don't we just bring the balance into the payment journey so they can see it first, so they know how much they can afford? So we're just trying to get rid of those little chinks of armor in the process that for those who are affected by them, they're really affected. But for the other 90-ish% of transactions that happen, people just shrug and go about their lives. Yeah. But there's so much operational drag and lost opportunity when things go wrong. Yeah. Like one of the major New Zealand companies, I won't say who, they have about 100,000 payments every month. They can't trace. And so they have a team of 12 people trying to trace and reconcile payments that say mums. Like, for what? And there's so much loss there because you've got 12 people doing this low-value work of trying to figure out who the hell paid what. Then you got customers ringing up saying, why haven't you credited my account? I paid you on the 11th of April. Like, we can't tell where it is. Who'd you send it from? Can you send us your bank details and your bank account logo? Like, there's so much loss in the system that unless you've been affected, you have no idea. Yeah, hard. But if you're pohara and you've been hammered by it, you know. You know.
Man, that's so good. And in terms of the open banking, open data, what's coming? Like, what does the future look like for our kind of financial services going forward?
So setting aside Blinkpay aspirations, I think an aspiration for New Zealand should be when you've got access to this open data, when you can get things like your banking data, your energy data, your insurer's data, your telco data, and you have the ability to aggregate all that information about yourself into a place that you trust that allows you to find better offers, help you make informed decision, eyes wide open. Then when you say, actually, I want to do that thing, it actually automates the process to do that thing for you. So all you have to do is just check in and make sure that every time it says, hey, Willie, we've just switched over from Trustpower to Genesis. You should be getting a letter in the mail this week, just confirming the move. We're already processing that. The next step in the chain is, and all you do is get little event notifications, telling you what's going on, and you just go, yep, no, or ignore, whatever it is. And what we have is we then start to see the rise of these, I'm sure you've heard the phrase agentic AI agents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
And
it's got more than 2 syllables, but I have heard of that one.
Yeah, and so the rise of agentic tools that help people not only make their lives easier, but then do all the lifting in the background and automate all the activity. Wow. And so there's still an element of us being in control, but we've got someone running around doing all the work. Like, I think probably one of the most obvious and early use cases is the different deep research tools, like in ChatGPT. When I'm on the road driving for 5 hours, I'll say, deep research, go look into blah. And so I've got this for any day of the week, any hour of the night research system that will go and look into anything I'm interested in.
Crazy.
And so typically when I'm driving from Whakatane to Omaha Beach, where my lady lives, I'll typically do between 2 and 8 deep research projects on the drive.
Sheesh.
And when you then expand beyond that early use case around how the agentic AI is being deployed by the different AI LLMs, the opportunities are endless, and the ability to hopefully help people be better off, make better decisions, be better informed is good. And then maybe we can start to devote some of our energy to actually valuable things as opposed to the low value, like just arguing with someone on the phone about whether or not you paid the damn bill.
Sweet. So good. Brother, thank you so much for coming on the pod. You shared so many wise words and pearls of wisdom. My final question for you, and I ask this to all my guests, is what does wealth mean to you?
Oh, what does wealth mean? When I was young and growing up poor in Hamilton, everywhere where I lived, everyone was poor, so we didn't know we were poor. We had no idea we were poor, but because everyone was poor. And so I always saw wealth as the domain of not me. And the people who had wealth, they tended to, had the impression that they had pretty poor attitudes to the rest of us. And I just felt like I didn't like the personality archetypes that I attached to wealth. So I decided wealth wasn't for me. So I didn't pursue it. But then I had the really good fortune of meeting a brilliant lady who opened my eyes in London, and she said, wealth isn't about that, Adrian. It's about freedom. It's about freedom of choice. So what do you mean? She's like, I don't see wealth as the way you said. You said as like a dirty thing. It's not. It gives you options and choices that allows you to do the things you want to do with your life. How many people in this world are trapped on the hamster wheel? You know, they think, I need to get a better job so I get paid more. And they get paid more, so then they start spending more. I need a better job. And they're constantly caught on this hamster wheel, on this trap of wanting more and having to work harder and earn more.
True.
It's a trap. Whereas if you have wealth, you have choices. Do I actually want to do that thing? No, I don't. Actually, today I'm going to go fishing. Like, you see people who are stuck in jobs that they're dying inside from. But they have to pay their bills. They have to feed their kids. So you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yes.
One of the phrases I used to use when my baby was little was like, look, it's like, Dad, why do you work? I'm like, baby, sometimes I do what I like. The rest of the time I do what I must. And a lot of people have that. This is before I had a different understanding of wealth. You know, you'd sometimes do what you like, but the rest of the time you do what you have to do, right? And so thankfully, through a lovely lady I met in London, and then my lovely lady I'm seeing now, different ladies, they both had the same view of wealth equals freedom and choice. And I'm glad I'm surrounded by that mindset because it's really changed my worldview. Yeah, and so the more we can help families, whānau, aiga, to create wealth, to create options and choices, then that's a better place, I think.
Big time. Bro, that's awesome. It's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the pod, bro.
All good, brother.
It's been mean. And I wish you, Blinkpay, your whānau, all the best for the future.
Same, bro. Thank you.